Welcome to a new video in my home automation series, and I received another Zemismart smart home switch obviously from Zemismart, free of charge for this review video. So this is what I'm going to review it now. And I want to keep it quick, not because there is not much to be said about this device, but we have seen so many different switches, and I mean, they pretty much work the same way. There is not a lot that you can tell about them. Obviously, their physical appearance is different, so that's really the deciding factor between them. And this one is a Zigbee model, and as you can see, it has 3 different gangs. And the reason I picked it, or the reason I liked it, because it has this sort of unusual layout. Instead of having, 3 really thin strips next to each other, it's like this interesting pattern, so like 1 big switch and 2 small switches. By the way, this is a European model, so you can see that the back is like the European style. So what I'm going to cover in this video is I'm going to talk a little bit more about the device, how it looks like, how you wire it, and then I plan to test it in 3 different systems. I want to test it in the Zemismart application, which is the main application how they market it. And I have 2 other Zigbee systems at home. I have a Son of I host. Well, I have a Son of NS panel as well, but I decided to use the Son of I host to link it with. And I also have my own Zigbee to MQTT network as well. And you will see that it works with all 3 systems, and it has all the features that I would expect. And it has a little bit more features, extra features in the TUI app, which is kind of expected because that's where it is designed for. But the kind of things that you get in the TUI, the timers and the schedules, those can be easily implemented in any of the other systems as well. And the other thing I like about this that this uses micro switches instead of capacitive touch switches. And another interesting thing is, instead of having a hinge usually like in the upper part so you can just press the lower part, it looks like that this whole button, I don't know if I can get it to focus, you can press the whole thing. It's not a huge amount of travel, but it gives you a really nice physical feedback that you press the button. And then also there is this sort of satisfying clicking sound. So I really like the physical layout, how it looks like, how these switches operate, how these buttons operate. And just to mention something about the whole construction, as you can see, it has a black base, and then these are, I think these are probably plastic, but it has these sort of frosted glass look. It's really hard to convey this in the camera. I'm not sure how much you would be able to see that, but it looks like that there is a small bezel, and it probably comes from the fact that the edges are a little bit beveled or tapered. So it feels like that those frosted glasses, which has a bevel, so then the edge appears a little bit shiny. So I think that's a really nice touch. And of course, behind these circles, we have some LED status lights. And if I turn the lights down, which is going to make the image really bad, but then you can see those lights. And I'm going to come back to this a little bit later when I test it in the TUI app. So these circles either have a blue or a red light. And then in the TUI app, you can configure how these lights work. But it's a really, really subtle light. So I don't think it would be an issue if it is placed in a bedroom, because it is a really, really subtle illumination. But still gives you an indication of where to find the switches in the night, and also in lower light conditions, you can actually see the status as well. So I think I already mentioned most of what I could mention about this device. And if I turn this over, then you can see that it operates from 110 to 240 volts, 50 or 60 hertz. So it is universal, although the form factor is not really a US form factor. And you can see the rated outputs for each of the gangs. So it says that for 300 watts for LED and 700 watts for normal incandescent light. And there is a rated current of 16 amp, but I think this is probably the rated current for the input and not for the individual outputs. So that would be like 16 amps if all the 3 outputs are turned on, but that would be definitely more than the maximum load which is stated here. So that's a little bit like a misleading number. And maybe that's only for compliance. They had to put in the main rating. And when you see the wiring, it is very simple. It's just like, you know, what you would expect. So we have a neutral wire. So this requires a neutral wire. It's not a single live wire version. You have the neutral wire and the live. So that's your incoming mains power. And then the 3 switched outputs can be accessed through live 1, live 2, and live 3. So that's the input live is switched to these terminals. So very simple layout. And I haven't done it, but you can see these markings here. So you can use the screwdriver just to pop off the front cover. And then you have access to 4 screw holes on the side, and there are 2 here as well. So that's for mounting within the wall box. And the box is a fairly generic box. You can see that it is pretty much just made for all the devices that they sell in this form factor, and they just mark that this is a white 3-gang version with a, well, it says touch, but in fact it is a button. But this is definitely a Zigbee device, and yeah, there is not much as information on that one. It's just the usual stuff. And I quickly wanted to go through the website as well. At least you can see the prices here. So that's 30 USD on the Zemismart website as well. And yeah, and of course, once you use it with Tuya, and then you can use it with, Google. And because it's Zigbee, I mean, technically you can just, even without using the Tuya, you can probably like link it to any of your HomePod or Alexa device as well. So anything that supports Zigbee. And you will see it later in the video, obviously, that I tested with Tuya, I tested with a Sonofi host, I tested with Zigbee to MQTT, and it works with all devices, so all these systems. So it is pretty universal Zigbee device, and it's being recognized by everything. You can see that they definitely stayed here, Apple HomeKit and the Tuya. So the only thing I haven't tested is the Apple HomeKit, because I don't have any Apple compatible device here. And I think that's pretty much it. Of course, the link would be included in the video description. I have this device connected at the moment, and well, you can see it here, and the light is really strong. So maybe if I just turn on a second, then, oops, you should be able to see this. This one is blinking red, that's in pairing mode, and the other two has this very faint blue illumination light. It's really a subtle one, but I think it's a little bit more visible to the naked eye than to the camera. But the light is not enough for the camera, so I just turn it on. So we just have a slightly better view of the whole thing. And I started the recording in the Tuya Smart app, and actually I'm using my Blitzwolf BSW01 as a Zigbee gateway. So, and I want to add this device, and the LED is blinking. Hopefully it is still blinking, although I can't see it now. But yeah, okay, it shows up. And I have Zemismart 3-gang. So I'm just going to rename this, and that should be it. And we just have to wait a little until the screen loads. And as you can see, we get a hint as well that if I long press any of the switches, that I can change the name. So it would change the word switch, switch 2, and switch 3. And I can turn these things on. And probably you can hear the click, so it's definitely working. I'm going to close this hint. Maybe I'm going to shut the lights again for a moment, so we can see how it works. So yes, when the output is on, then the light turns from blue to red. But yeah, it works just fine. Let me just get the lights back on. And if I operate it from here, then obviously, oops, the UI updates. Wonderful. I mean, it's all fine. It's working as expected. We have a big all on and an all off button as well. Oh, I like this sound effect, how it actually takes a fraction of the second for each of the separate ones, separate outputs to turn on and off. Let's quickly zoom through some of the other details. So we have some schedules. Oh, okay. So I think it's very similar to, I'm trying to remember what was the last device that I reviewed which has the same schedule. So we can have schedules where you specify the hour and the minute and the day of the week, and then you can specify whether you want to turn all the outputs on or you want to turn separate outputs either on or off. So that's nice because with one specific schedule you can change the status of all three switches at once. And of course you can have multiple of these schedules, and you have the whole circle schedule where again you have an end time and a start time, day of the week, and then within that your device is going to switch on and off. Let's say on for 2 minutes and then off for 5 minutes or something like that. So it's like I wouldn't say blinking, but it's like an alternative on and off switch. For a light switch like this, I don't think that you are going to use this a lot. Maybe it would be if it would be like a generic switch and you can program it to get some circulation pump or I don't know, valve pump or something like that to alternate, but that's fine. And you also have a random switch. So as you can see, the equipment can turn off randomly during the set period, creating the illusion that there is a people at home. So this is almost like the circle setting, but here you don't set a time. It would be just a random time between these periods. Again, you can just set it to that, for example, between 6 and 10. What is it? 6 o'clock and I don't know, 10:30. You set it for every day of the week, and then it's just going to randomly switch on and off. And maybe you can do it even more random, that you set this for Monday and Tuesday, and for Wednesday and Thursday you would just only start this from, let's say, I don't know, 8:30 and then finish it at 22:45 or whatever. So you can just add even more randomness to it, because as I said, you can have quite a few of these various schedules here. But I guess you get the idea. And there is also a countdown. So yeah, if I turn the lights on and I know that I'm going to bed, but I still want the lights on for another half an hour, you can just configure a time countdown, and that's nice. And there is also a delay close, which actually is nice because I haven't seen this implemented in this way. So if I do this, delayed shut, I'm expecting the this thingy to show up here. So I configured 5 seconds for the first switch, but it doesn't seem to be working. Let me just do it again. So I want a 5-second delay shut on switch 1. Okay, so that doesn't seem to be working for some reason. That's a bummer, because that's a nice feature, to be honest. I guess I don't have to choose it for all of them. It wouldn't make much sense. Yeah, it's just not getting saved. So, okay. I'm not going to test all the functionality, but I'm pretty sure that the others work because I've seen it for so many other devices. But this delay shut is something new. This delay close is something new. I mean, we have seen this for Sonoff loads, but not so much for, not so much in Tuya. But that would be a nice feature if they would get it to work. So yeah, it's just not getting saved. You are not getting a message, but it's just nothing happens. And in the settings, we get a switch log. Nice. And then the relay status, all switches, and yes, you can set the the behavior of these lights. So whether you want these lights to be off, or whether you want these lights to be indicating the switch position or the switch state. You can see you can read the various options here. But I think it's nice. And also I have a backlight switch, which I don't think it really applies to this one, because oops. I don't think that it has any backlight. Yeah, because it just turns the whole thing on and off. So that's just like, yeah. Oh, sorry. Yeah, then I can turn all these circles off if I don't want them to be visible. But honestly, it is such a subtle light that even in a bedroom in a night condition, I don't think that that would be disturbing. So I really like this. It's a really subtle effect. And that's pretty much it, because in the settings, I don't think that we are going to see too much. I mean, usually you can change the name and the location, and then you can do multi-control associations. Again, if you have another one of these on the other side of the room, you can just link them together. But that's pretty much like a feature that is supported by all the switches. And then you can share, and then you can also create a group. So that's all the functionality in Tuya. Okay, for the next test, I want to see how it works from Sonoff, in the Sonoff ecosystem. And to be honest, I'm pretty sure that I would be able to link it to my NS Panel Pro. And usually I do the test with the NS Panel Pro, but I thought I'm going to switch around now and I see if how this behaves with the iHost. So I just powered up my iHost and let me just add a new device. And by the way, I'm not sure if you would be able to see, but this is still blinking. So, once I removed it from the Tuya network, once I deleted from my Tuya list of devices, it came back to printing immediately. So I think I should be able to add it to my my iHost without any issues. So let's see if this is being recognized. So Sonoff has other free gang switches, so I don't think that they should be any different from those, and that's why I'm sort of like confident that it should be found. And yes, actually I think it was just, the pairing was just expiring, so I just had to initiate this again, but I'm just going to rename this, so Zemismart free gang. And I'm going to save it as it is. And I'm going to quit and go back to my devices, and yeah, it is here. And I can operate the various gangs. So yes, everything is turned on now. And I can turn them off separately. And of course, the settings here are rather limited. I mean, of course, it would have most of these features in the Tuya app, but I can still, rename the device. I can rename each of the channels. I can assign it to a new location and create scenes with it. So there's nothing really going to be anything special. We don't have all this functionality for, for timers and everything, but you can just set them up in the scenes. So for example, here I could create a scene and I can set it on a timer. So I have almost the same features as in the Tuya app, so I can set a specific time, and on that time I can, sorry, not smart scenes, but smart devices, and so I can also influence any of the free channels, whether I want to turn them on and off, keep them, or actually just reverse them. And of course I should be able to use this device just to trigger a scene as well. So if I do smart devices, and sorry, scrolling too much, Zemismart, and I can, for example, create a scene when channel 1 is turned on, and then I can do something stupid like, I can't really think, well, I don't have a lot of things connected at the moment, so I'm just going to do an alarm sound. And for 2 seconds. Let's see how it works. You could hear the small beep, 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 which was coming from the iHost. So yeah, I mean, of course, all the functionality works. iHost handles this free gang switch, handling, using all free gangs. So yeah, everything works as expected. I'm quite happy with it. Okay, and well, since we are here, let's just test it with Zigbee to MQTT as well. And it is back in pairing mode, so I just removed it from the iHost, and I'm going to enable joining to my Zigbee to MQTT network, and let's just wait for a second. I'm pretty sure that it's going to be quick. Oh, it's already here. Well, at least the device is appearing, and I'm hoping that it is supported by Zigbee to MQTT. Again, I'm not really expecting a lot from a switch, even though it's a different manufacturer. I think the profile should already exist in the in this Zigbee to MQTT implementation. And yeah, it shows up as the Zemismart ZML03E-Z. I'm not really sure what the -Z is, but I got a name. Actually, let me just rename this. Zemismart FreeGang. Come on, keyboard, rename device. Okay, so let's see what it does. And FreeGang, oh, it is a router, which is good. Of course, it's powered on from the main, so it should be a router. The image is different, but I'm guessing it's, you know, it's maybe the same family of products as some of the touch versions. And well, this is more like a physical touch version. And yeah, everything is supported. Of course, it's mains powered, and then yeah, it's fine. So let's look at what is available here. So it's not an awful lot, to be honest, because yeah, it doesn't have any of these functions. So some of them would have a feature that it shows like what is the initial state. So we don't have any of those. But of course, we can, you know, turn on the various outputs on and off. And of course, I can query the status as well. And yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it. We get a signal, a link quality as well every time I try to change any of the status. But I mean, honestly, you know, it supports all the different switches. It says left, center, and right. Obviously, this is left, and that's center, and this is right. But other than that, it works fine. Yeah, I can control the 3 outputs separately, and that's pretty much what you want from a switch. So, of course, you can query it, and then you can also tell it to do something. So that's fine. It works. It's all great. So that will be all about the review of this nicely looking, interesting layout Zemismart Zigbee switch. If you like this product, I'm going to leave purchasing links in the video description. But I think that will be all for today. Thanks for watching, and hopefully see you next video.